welcome once again to our show that is called Real Shame. It's a show where we, us two guys, these guys right here in front of you, watch movies from our movie list of shame or movie blind spots. Basically movies we haven't seen that we're watching and we're telling you all about it. And you guys are liking it and clicking that like button and hitting subscribe and all that kind of stuff. And we're all happy here. I'm Adam.
I'm Andy.
This week we are watching some movies directed by Sidney Poitier, starring Sidney Poitier. And Andy, and we early in the week we watched Let's Do It Again, and Andy decided to pair that with another movie. And I'm going to have him tell you all about it.
Earlier in the week we watched Uptown Saturday Night. You said Let's Do It Again.
I ruined everything.
But we are doing it again.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about Let's Do It Again. Two friends travel with their wives to New Orleans and have plans to put in a fix for a boxing match and win some cold, hard cash in Let's Do It Again.
Should be in a bank.
It was.
We can go to jail if this don't work.
It's gonna work.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, but you still got to touch, because I remember at Sister Jones' party with Victor Brown, you had him going around there crowing like a rooster in a hen house. That's right. $2,000. Mortgaged my furniture, sold my car, closed out my bank account. $2,000 for me, $18,000 for the lodge, $20,000.
$20,000. No, man. I'm a milkman. You're a factory worker. We don't look like nobody who come up with no $20,000.
We're gonna look like we got $1 million.
How?
You just leave that up to me. I'll take care of that.
I'll have to count that.
That's okay. So Let's Do It Again is directed by Sidney Poitier. We talked about a movie that he directed on Monday, Uptown Saturday Night. This one is also written by Richard Wesley, just like that one was. And as I mentioned on Monday's episode, Richard Wesley wrote another Sidney Poitier movie that he did in the 80s, directed in the 80s, called Fast Forward. This movie stars, once again, Sidney Poitier, but he's not playing the same character he played in Uptown Saturday Night. This time he's playing Clyde Williams. Bill Cosby plays Billy Foster. Lee Chamberlain plays Dee Dee Williams. She's Sidney Poitier's wife. Lee Chamberlain was actually in Uptown Saturday Night as Madame Zenobia. Madame Zenobia's club is where Sidney Poitier and Bill Cosby get their wallet stolen, or Sidney Poitier gets his wallet stolen. So she played Madame Zenobia in that movie. Now she's playing Sidney Poitier's wife. Denise Nicholas plays Beth Foster, Bill Cosby's wife in this film. Jimmy Walker plays Bootney Farnsworth. I'm going to resist the urge to say Dynamite. Oh, I just said it.
You did.
But Jimmy Walker, of course, everybody knows him from Good Times. Yeah. Ossie Davis, who we saw in Do the Right Thing as the mayor. He plays Elder Johnson. John Amos plays Kansas City Mac. Actually, John Amos and Jimmy Walker were both on Good Times at this time. Calvin Lockhart, who in the last film played Silky Slim or something like that, this time plays a name that you might have heard, Biggie Smalls. Yeah, that's right. The notorious B.I.G. stole that.
Well, apparently there's, in the trivia, there's another 90s rapper that got their name from this movie too.
Oh, is that right? But not Biggie Smalls, though.
No, in addition to Biggie Smalls.
In addition to Biggie Smalls, cool. And then George Foreman has a cameo. This is appropriate because this movie deals with boxing.
You better buy my grill.
George Foreman has a cameo at the beginning of the movie. I mean, he's very noticeable. He has some lines and interacts with Bill Cosby, so you can't miss him. The music for this movie is by Curtis Mayfield, who did the music for Superfly. And even though neither one of us really like Superfly, I love the music for Superfly, and I love Curtis Mayfield. And the theme song, Let's Do It Again, is sung by the Staple Singers. This is a movie just like Uptown Saturday Night that I've never seen before, you've never seen before.
That's right.
It's not a sequel to Uptown Saturday Night, but it has a similar vibe. Two best friends get into some shenanigans.
Yep.
I don't think you just like Uptown Saturday Night, you probably didn't know much about this movie.
Nope.
Nor did I. But was this an improvement over Uptown Saturday Night?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I was really nervous going into this movie because, like we said,
like Uptown Saturday Night.
Yeah, Uptown Saturday Night didn't really work for me. It wasn't my thing. I kind of didn't get it. So, so I was kind of nervous getting to this. And I will say I like Let's Do It Again better. I was really enjoying this movie for the first portion of it. But again, whenever they Let's Do It Again part again for the last like 30 minutes or whatever, I just like, oh, like this is not as fun or as interesting. And I wish they kind of had something different to do with it, or maybe made it all about the first thing they do. And we'll get into it a little bit more like in spoilers, but I really wish like that first thing they did was the whole movie, and we didn't really have to go back and revisit things and do it again. And because that was lesser in my opinion, even though the name of it is Let's Do It Again.
Yeah.
But I thought it was funny. I think like having, I do think Sidney Poitier is zanier. He kind of has these abilities in the movie that's interesting and it's funny, and he's like can hypnotize people with his eyes and stuff like that. I thought that was fun and interesting. And Jimmy Walker is funny. I mean, it's not a great performance, but it's something interesting to see him and how he like tries to like, okay, he's in the zone, so now he's like angry. Like there's more going on, more interest. I think the movie is definitely benefited by Lee Chamberlain and Denise Nicholas. I think they bring a lot to the movie. They are interesting, and it's fun to watch them come along. So I think this movie has a lot more going for it. It just gets diminished again because I don't like the last part of it, and I feel like that kind of takes away my enjoyment. So I do like it better than Uptown Saturday Night, but I'm not over the moon with it or anything like that. I just think it's an improvement, but it's not a movie I really, really, really like. It's a movie that's okay in my book.
Yeah.
But we can get into more of it in a little bit. I'm going to pass it over to you, do the same thing. We're going to do it again. So you've not seen this movie. What are your thoughts about Let's Do It Again after Uptown Saturday Night?
I'm with you. I think it's better than Uptown Saturday Night, but I also not crazy about it.
Yeah.
I like, so this movie deals with like a con. So I'm already liking it better.
Yeah.
Because I like The Sting and movies like that we've seen. I like that sort of thing. So I like that aspect of it because they're fixing a boxing match.
Yep.
Which, by the way, Jimmy Walker, I think he's classified as a middleweight in this film,
No,
but he's
like
like a featherweight.
Yeah.
He's so scrawny.
Well, yeah, that's one thing. It's like I'm like, no one ever pair those two boxers together.
No, the other guy's a lot bigger.
Yeah.
They're not matched evenly at all. Even though I wrote down they turned Bootney into Captain America essentially because he like punches the bag off the little chain and through the wall.
Meatballs flashbacks at all while watching this?
No,
I did.
What?
Because there's like the boxing match and Meatballs and all that kind of stuff.
Is there? I don't even remember.
Yeah, I think there. I'm pretty sure there is.
I don't even remember.
Yeah, that I remember.
I blocked that movie out of my mind.
You're lucky.
I didn't get Meatballs vibe. I don't feel like you do as far as like I don't mind that they kind of repeat. So they go and they fix the match and they get away with it.
Yep.
And then they go back to so they go to New Orleans. They go back to Atlanta, right, where they're living. And I thought. I wasn't looking at the time code of the movie or anything, but I thought there's no way it's already been like feature length. There's no way. There's got to be more to this. And of course, there is more to it.
Yeah.
Basically, the guys that they swindled, essentially, kind of, they tracked them down and they're like, we know what you did, and now you're going to do it for us and make us money. So I didn't mind it because I thought, well, how are they going to get out of this?
We know what you did last week.
We know what you did last week. So let's do it again. But I didn't mind that. The movie, though, is still too long.
Yeah.
Particularly, like, the final chase sequence. Where they chase them around and up a building and down the fire escape and through here and in the elevator. And I was like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like that, I don't know why they felt the need to pad it even more. Yeah. Like I guess they just thought, oh, that's hilarious. This chase sequence is hilarious. But it's not.
Yeah.
They're just, there's nothing funny about it. They're just running all over the place. I was like, I don't, what, because that brings the movie closer to 2 hours where it could have been much, much shorter. But yeah, I still don't think this movie, just like Uptown Saturday Night, I still don't think Sidney Poitier is very funny, bless his heart.
Yeah.
And Bill Cosby's like riffing doesn't really land for me. I laughed a few times, kind of like Uptown Saturday Night, but probably not nearly as much as I should have. But it's still an improvement over Uptown Saturday Night. And I agree with you about their wives being involved in it. That makes it a lot more interesting because I mentioned when we talked about Uptown Saturday Night on Monday, the writer Richard Wesley felt like he had kind of given short shrift to the women in the first film because they have nothing to do. They're basically just at home. In this movie, he wanted to bring them out and have them be a part of what Sidney Poitier and Bill Cosby were doing, and I like that because they play a part in the or in the second, at least in the second part of the movie, they play a part in it.
And for me, that's like really one of the two redeeming things about the second con is that they're a part of it, and I think that's interesting, and it makes it better. The other thing is I like what the result that they're betting on for the second one, because I think that's interesting. Like that was kind of surprising.
Yeah.
Because they don't really tell you what it is.
Yeah,
like
they
the guy's like
keep it a secret.
Yeah, the guy's like, oh, that's an odd bet. I guess I'll take your money. And then you find out like, and again we spoiled the movie here, because they couldn't snap Jimmy Walker out of it. They decide to get the other guy hypnotized, and then the result is that they knock each other out.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
So I thought those two things were kind of redeeming on the second con. Again, maybe it was a.
Could you guess what the outcome was going to be? Like
No.
the wet? I did. I'm not. I usually am dumb as hell when it comes to figuring things out, but I did guess what it was.
I did not.
What it was going to be, and I thought that's an unusual thing to take a bet on.
Yeah.
Like I'd probably be like, no, I'm not doing that. Like that's just too weird.
Well,
but I did think that.
I thought like they're going to hypnotize the other guy, and since he's naturally stronger than Jimmy Walker, they're just going to be like, we plus him by 10, we're going to plus this guy by 10, but since he's already better, he's going to win, right?
Yeah.
So that's what
that's what actually probably would happen.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting, but so I found that clever. I wasn't expecting it.
I think I also was just kind of, because doesn't the same thing happen in Rocky or Rocky 2? They like both knock each other down. I think it happens in one of those movies.
I think it's
so. I think I might have been thinking about that.
I think
too.
Maybe it's Rocky. It's Rocky 3 where he's boxing Apollo for fun. I think.
Yeah, it's one of those where they knock each other down, and they're like doing a 10 count for like both of them. So I think that probably entered my mind, and that's what kind of made me think of it. So yeah, but no, but it's still interesting nevertheless. I mean, I thought it was fun. It's an interesting thing to have happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is an improvement. I wonder if the next movie is gonna continue the trend and get better and all that kind of stuff.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like this movie is the most well received out of the three. Yeah. So don't hold your breath if you ever do watch it.
But it also doesn't have a physical or a Blu-ray release, right?
No, none of them do. They're all only available on DVD. So the third movie is called A Piece of the Action.
Okay.
Which we did not watch for Real Shame, and I have not watched it on my own or anything like that. But maybe I will. I don't know, just to conclude the trilogy. So I think of these movies almost as like, because some people are like, oh, let's do it again, and Piece of the Action are meant to be sequels, and I'm like, how are they meant to be sequels? Yeah. They're playing completely different characters. I guess it's kind of like, what's it called, the Cornetto trilogy or whatever, with the
Edgar Wright Cornetto trilogy.
Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and The World's End. This is kind of like their version of that. Back in the day, they're same characters, and not just Sidney Poitier and Bill Cosby, as we saw. So, like the lady that plays Madame Zenobia in the first film, the guy that played Silky Slim or whatever in the first film, Calvin Lockhart, he's in this film. They're all in the different movies, but they're always playing different characters. So they're definitely not sequels. They're just part of like a trilogy.
That's right.
So this movie is 63% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. It's 86% audience score. And I want to say this one only had like 5 or 6 critic reviews, so 63% out of like 5 or 6 critic reviews. This one did get 2 thumbs up. I did see that. Again, I didn't see like an episode. I don't know if they had an episode for this back in 1975, but they both gave it favorable reviews in print. So
gotcha. It
got 2 thumbs up. And Leonard Maltin thought this was an improvement on Uptown Saturday Night. He gave that one, I think, 2.5. He gives this one 3 stars.
All right.
Maltin is in agreement with us. It's better. I don't know if he loves it, but it's better.
Was this trilogy the last that Poitier and Bill Cosby would do together?
No. I'm glad you said that. Sidney Poitier. So Sidney Poitier, basically, I think after A Piece of the Action, which came out in 1977, he took a break from acting.
Yeah.
He didn't act in another film until 1988. So over a decade later is when he finally acted again. He directed a few films in that time, like Fast Forward, that Richard Wesley wrote. But he did team up with Bill Cosby again, not acting. He directed the terrible Bill Cosby film Ghost Dad in 1990.
There you go.
That's I mean, it's probably better than Leonard Part 6, but it's also really, really terrible. They're both really terrible.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. That was Let's Do It Again. I have to make sure I'm looking at the right notes. on these Wednesday episodes, we like to answer viewers' questions and all that kind of stuff. This week, we focused on Sidney Poitier movies that he's directed and acted in, and we decided, hey, why don't we talk about our favorite Sidney Poitier movies? And I will say there aren't a lot of Sidney Poitier movies I've seen. He has a lot of movies in my blind spots, so I'm selecting from a very small list and all that kind of stuff. But nonetheless, one of the movies I am selecting is up there as one of my favorite movies. So I'm happy to pick it.
You could also include directed movies if you really love Ghost Dad. You can stick that in there.
I've never seen Ghost Dad. I think I've heard of it before, but I've never seen it.
It's pretty crappy. Well, I mean, I've seen the really classic Sidney Poitier films, like the Defiant Ones, and Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, and In the Heat of the Night. But there's a lot of movies like, The Long Ships, or The Bedford Incident, or The Slender Thread, Duel at Diablo. I haven't seen any of that stuff. And it's not really until, the 1980, like Shoot to Kill I've seen, Little Nikita I've seen, Sneakers I've seen. I feel like that I've seen more of his films. The Jackal, which I forgot he was even in that. But
me too.
And then he didn't make a movie. He didn't act in a movie after 2001. So he retired and lived for another 20 years. I also feel like I'm pretty deficient as far as the Sidney Poitier films.
I'm deficient in a lot of things, including Sidney Poitier movies.
That's right. But again, the classic ones like Defiant Ones, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, In the Heat of the Night, I would pick what I think out of the small list of Sidney Poitier films that I've seen. I think I like In the Heat of the Night the best. Probably the movie that I've seen the most that he's in, and I just think it's a great film. He's great. Rod Steiger, who plays like the racist Southern sheriff that he has to work with, is fantastic. Rod Steiger is one of those guys that he's done some really, really great movies with some really, really great performances, and then he's done some really hammy performances. Like we saw him in The January Man, where he's like an 11 the whole time. Amityville Horror, which I'm not crazy about. He's not terrible in that, but his character I thought was kind of silly. But then he's done movies like In the Heat of the Night, where he's just fantastic and can do no wrong. So my pick would be In the Heat of the Night.
All right.
What about you?
I've seen all the kind of modern Sidney Poitier movies, or some of the more modern Sidney Poitier movies. And my favorite one is Sneakers. I love myself a good hacker movie, and he does well. I'm trying to remember his character's name in it, and I can't. But I think he does a great job in it. He adds some gravitas to it and all that kind of stuff. He kind of plays a little bit of the straight man. He's kind of the Fed on the team and stuff like that. A little bit buttoned up, but I think he does a great job. He's interesting, and I love that movie. So for me, it's Sneakers.
Awesome.
All right, guys. Well, that's our favorite Sidney Poitier movies. Let us know what your favorite Sidney Poitier movies are. Leave them down below. They're probably movies that we need to watch from on our list, so maybe we'll do another week of Sidney Poitier movies. If you guys leave a lot of interesting and good comments and stuff for us to check out, we will be happy to do that. Please like and subscribe and share, do all that social media stuff. It really does help, and we really do appreciate it. And stay tuned next week as we watch the movies from this guy's list of shame. And we'll see you guys soon. Have a good one.